Well, there is absolutely none obvious reason why Tesla is off this morning. Markets are generally up. We've got the bond market got a 3 handle this morning for the first time in quite a while, but maybe there's just some early sellers on Tesla. It's been jostling around there, trying to go toward the green, but getting knocked back. We'll see. We'll check it again in about 20 minutes. This next story alone should be moving Tesla in the right direction. Listen to this now. This is from Tesla Chan. Breaking, he says, Elon Musk will meet Samsung CEO Lee Ji-yong and Hyundai CEO Chung Yu-sun in Paris. I don't know if I pronounced any of that right. This early August. According to the article, they will dine in Paris this weekend. They will also discuss the development of next generation technologies and explore ways to cooperate. The meeting was reportedly made at the suggestion of Lee Jae-young. That would be the one who is the Samsung fella. Okay, so Samsung, of course, as you know, is a major player in batteries, semiconductors, memory storage, cameras, like the cameras that are used in the Tesla vehicles. They're a major supplier to Tesla. Guess what? I'm 100%, 1,000% sure. I don't know. Haven't ever seen their purchase orders, but I'm sure that they're supplying lots of stuff to Hyundai and Kia also. So, and now these are 2 different companies, but they're brother, sister. They're so closely related. I've been saying for a very long time that I think that Hyundai and Kia will end up being one of the final players, one of the top 10 in the BEV space, as well as in the overall automotive space when everything is figured out, in 2030, and a lot of the ICE makers have not made it into the next decade. Now, some of those companies might still be around in some niche place or possibly, like a Sears. They're still struggling somehow to have a couple of stores open or something. But I'm talking about the folks that are really making a bunch of cars. I think they will be in that group. That's just me. I'm no expert specifically in that category, but I've spent a lot of time looking at what they're doing, what they're saying, Hyundai has been building plants in the US, for instance, and other Chinese companies have not. So overall, this sounds to me like a very good thing. And you can imagine that, one of the conversations they might be having if they're talking about technology and working together might be, FSD and or other tech that Tesla has that could help Hyundai and Kia if they were to license it. Also, looking at other opportunities to work with Samsung. All right, so Elon Musk putting out this morning. This is Alex_Avoigt, Avoigt. He says we have a clear path to Elon says we have a clear path to doubling average miles between interventions in the month of August. A clear path to doubling the number of miles between interventions. I mean, we are making some serious progress really fast. So that's got to be based on stats they're seeing already, in the last few days of July. And then we have this from Elon Musk this morning. He says, this is something he will put out to everybody in the company in North America. It says to everybody. So I guess an email, in-mail, type thing. In North America, please make sure that all test vehicles are upgraded to 12.5.1 and that all test drives, as well as all new vehicles and service deliveries, include a 5 to 10 minute demonstration of FSD. This is extremely important as most Tesla owners or prospective owners have no idea how good FSD has become or how to use it. We are working with regulatory authorities in other countries to roll out unsupervised FSD worldwide. Thank you, Elon. Well, of course, at this point, I think we could all agree, based on what we're seeing, those of us who are paying close attention, what we're seeing, what you're hearing on my channel with regard to folks that are driving 12.5.1 is that, yeah, people that test this are probably going to keep it. They're going to keep paying their subscription, or they're going to buy it outright at the time of purchase of the vehicle. This is from Tesla Larry this morning on an energy-related note. He says, if you're wondering what are the impediments to the growth of Tesla energy, which he and I have been talking about for a while, and to renewables in general, here's a brief, relatively brief thread summarizing the challenges. And this is from a guy named David. He goes, so his handle is ddpaollella, DD Paola. And he says, as many are realizing, we've had to build a lot of clean generation. We have to build a lot of clean generation to stay on track for net zero. Siting and permitting is increasingly overtaking economics as the rate limiter. So this is something I've been talking about for a while, is that, you got to find the site. Then you got to get the neighborhood to agree to it. Then you've got to get the governments, various governments, to agree that you're not killing any bugs or other things, or interfering with some kind of ecosphere, and I'm all for that on a gross level. But I mean, the micro methods that are usually employed is crazy. Anyway, and then you've got to find a way to hook it up to the grid, because there's all kinds of limitations, not enough transformers, etc. So this is where the problem is. It isn't that there isn't demand. And this guy goes into it in great length. You can just go ahead and look up Larry if you want to go find the entire. I'm probably going to deal with it between now and the end of the weekend. I might go over this entire thread that this guy put out, showing in detail what's going on with these energy issues of getting them installed. Okay, well, this is Randy Kirk, by the way. Hit the like and subscribe and notify. Of course, it's Thursday, so it's Cern. I've already got that lined up. Cern will be on later this morning. Bradford Ferguson on Thursday nights, and he has been very, very actively involved the last few days on X. He's got lots to talk about, so look forward to those two things later today. All right, this is from, Patreon. Join Patreon. Market Watch, new claims. This is the new unemployment claims rose by 14,000 in the 7 days that ended July 27. Going from 235,000 in the prior week to 249,000, I guess. Economists polled by what? Rose by 14,000 from, anyway, I think that's wrong. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast new claims to beat 235 based on seasonally adjusted figures. A big increase in new claims occurred in Michigan because of there was a bunch of shutdowns of plants, normal kinds of, I guess, seasonal shutdowns. It added to the high headline number. Raw jobless claims before seasonal judgments actually fell last week. So kind of a mixed bag here. New jobless claims fell in 40 of the 53 states. They rose in the other 13, primarily Michigan. But here's the one that I always look at. Here's the one to pay attention to. Every week we talk about this. This is more important. The number of people already collecting unemployment benefits in the U.S. rose by 33,000 to 1.88 million. That's the highest level since 2021 and puts it back to pre-pandemic levels. So that is now normalized, but it's also going up. These are, something to pay attention to, especially when you hear the rest of the reporting this morning. A gradual increase in these so-called continuing claims indicates it's taking longer for people who do lose their jobs to find new ones. Big picture, according to Market Watch, hiring has tapered off. Wages are rising more slowly. It's a cooling labor market. Layoffs are still low historically, suggests companies have enough business to retain most of their workers until they don't. This is what I keep saying. Sometimes these recessions, they happen fast. Non-farm business sector, this is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics this morning. Non-farm business sector labor productivity. You know how much I care about productivity. And I've been looking for this to be an element that would really change things. Well, productivity increased by 2.3% in the second quarter of 2024. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today. Output increased 3.3, hours work increased 1%. All quarterly percentage changes are released seasonally and then adjusted for annualized rates. From the same quarter a year ago, non-farm business sector labor productivity increased 2.7%. So that's all good. That's right in line with where it was expected to be. It's a good number. Unit labor costs in the non-farm business sector increased 0.9% in the second quarter, reflecting a 3.3% increase in hourly compensation. 3.3, that's about in line with what we're hearing from the Fed and others, and a 2.3 increase in productivity. Unit labor costs increased 0.5% over the last 4 quarters, the lowest rate since the third quarter of 2019. And that when the measure had the identical number. All right. Now, this is from the 𝐄𝐥𝐲𝐬 letter this morning. The Bank of England cuts its interest rates by 25 basis points in their first rate cut since 2020. All right, this is from Chris Williamson, the chief business economist at the S&P Global Market Intelligence, talking about this morning's PMI numbers. The manufacturing recovery moved into reverse in July, though the gloomier growth picture was accompanied by a marked cooling of inflation. Well, we got cooling inflation, but cooling business. Business conditions worsened in July as the first fall in new orders since April caused a near stalling of production. Purchasing activity is falling and hiring has slowed amid concerns over weaker than anticipated sales. Many firms are expecting the weakness to be temporary, linked to paused spending and investment ahead of the presidential election. Well, that would be for 6 months. However, firms' expectations for output in 1 year's time remain subdued. Firms' expectations for output in the full year ahead remain subdued by historical statements, reflecting additional concerns over the impact of higher interest rates and persistent inflation. While orders for investment goods, such as plant and machinery, fell especially sharply in July, underscoring the recent pullback in capital spending, producers of consumer goods also reported a modest fall in demand. That only leaves the government, well, in exports. But you got the consumers not buying and you got companies not buying. That just leaves the government and export. There was better news on the inflation front. Input cost inflation cooled for a second month after having risen to a 13-month high in May. This welcoming lowering of pressures helped take further heat off the selling price inflation, which moderated sharply in July to the lowest for a year. So inflation seeming to be a little bit better. A separate report now, this is not the same company, this is a different reporting agency. This is the ISM, talking about manufacturing again. From their perspective, economic activity in the manufacturing sector contracted in June for the 3rd consecutive month and the 19th time in 20 months. According to their report, the manufacturing PMI registered 48.5% in June, down 0.2 percentage points from 48.7. The overall economy continued expansion for the 50th month, but manufacturing not so good. The new orders index remained in contraction territory, registering 49. We've been hearing that over and over and over again. The new orders are not good. 49.3%, that's 3.9% higher than the 45.4% recorded in May. June reading of the production index is 1.7% lower than May's figure at 50.2%. Prices were also down 4.9 percentage points compared to the pricing expectations. All right, then, in addition, we have this breaking at the last minute. Construction spending during June 2024 was estimated at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of $2.148 billion. So it's $2.148 trillion. That is a 0.3% below the revised May estimate of 2. Anyway, the June figure is 6.2% above the June 2023 estimate for the first 6 months of the year, but it is down month over month, and that is on both almost exactly the same on private and government spending. So not good across the board. Manufacturing down, construction down, 2 different reports on manufacturing down. Long-term unemployment up. Prices dropping, that's the good one. And of course, that's being reflected in a lot of different ways. Let's take a look at what the markets are responding to all of these kind of gloomy pieces of news this morning. We have got Tesla still down $3.30. It was down more. It was down $4.50 about, I think was the most it was down this morning, but it was up. At one point, it looked like it was going to go into the green. Right now, it is stabilizing around this $3 negative for this. Well, maybe my computer was behind because it just dropped $4.76 down, and I still don't see the reason. I can't see anything that would be indicating why this would be true. Now, the Dow, meanwhile, okay, so now the markets are actually collapsing. Now it's beginning to make a lot more sense. Dow, which was up pretty strongly, is now down 226. So maybe these reports are having an impact. NASDAQ, which was up strongly, is now up only 1517. S&P, which was up, is now down 0.52, just a tiny bit, just barely below the green. We have the Magnificent Seven is still in positive territory, but Meta, for instance, is up almost 10%, 41.30, but I think it was up more than 10%. Yes, it was more than 10% earlier. So everything is starting to fall off very rapidly. I'm suspecting maybe the market is not liking the three reports that I just read to you. It's one thing to get the interest rate to come down, but you don't want a recession. And everything that we just looked at tells me that what I've been telling you for the last month, the recession started in June, folks. The recession started in June. Mark my words, we are in a recession right now, and it's not 0.1% or something negative GDP. It's a recession. Okay, we've got the Cathie Woods mixed, but at very small numbers, positive and negative, mostly less than $1. Okay, Tesla now down $4.81. All right, so here we go. The percentages. We have the Dow Jones down 0.52, NASDAQ up 0.16, S&P is now back in the green a little bit, 0.06, and Tesla down 2. All right, 2%. Okay, let's go ahead and look at those bonds. They were down, as I mentioned earlier, down under 4% now. This is really positive, down at 3.972. You've also got the 2-year similarly down 13 basis points at 4.20, roughly the same 22 basis point spread as we had the last couple of days. The 2-month is at 5.367, only down 0.6 of a basis point this morning. It is now 140 basis points spread. I don't create these numbers. I just read them, or in this case, subtract them and give you the result. Who knows what's going on with that 2-month, 10-year spread? That is crazy. Okay, let's go ahead and look at oil. Oil this morning is down again after being up briefly yesterday. It's continuing its trend, but Brent is still back. It's back over 80. There for a while, it was down around 79. Texas Intermediate 77, 72, both down. Both down this morning. We got natural gas rebounding. Up 2.21% at 208. So it rejected the $2 that it was headed directionally. Gold this morning up 21.60. Wow, 2,494. Looks like, with any, could be going past 2,500. Now that would be a big round number to have to get past. We'll see if it does. Maybe tonight we'll be reporting that it is past the 2,500 mark. Silver, basically even right now at $28.93, not able to get back over 30. And copper similarly down a little bit, down to 1.22 this morning, but holding well above the $4 level at $4.12. Dollar up against the yen, even with the intervention by the Japanese, and the dollar is down against the euro. Potentially responding to that cut in England, although England, of course, not on the euro. Okay, we have got Bitcoin down Okay, US delay special tariffs. Okay, just reading the headline in case it was important. Okay, Bitcoin down 1392, 64,203, now starting to trend in the lower part of their recent range. And there you go. Those are the numbers. Going back to double check on Tesla is now down more. It's definitely trending down, $5.23. So half of that $10 from yesterday is now been eaten up. We'll see how all this progresses later in the day, but the overall market definitely, like the Dow is now down 231, NASDAQ is now down, S&P is now down. So everything is looking towards the red right now. So I think those three reports were not received favorably. Okay, so remember to come back later and see Cern's report. I already know a little bit about what he's going to talk about. It's going to be great. And then we've got Bradford tonight. And joining Patreon would be wonderful. In the meantime, yesterday, phenomenal hour-long discussion with Scott Walter. You're going to want to watch that. And there is the card for that one. And as always, it's been great talking to you.